All right, this is going to be kind of a pre-season video. There's nothing growing. I usually have something planted or growing. But what you're looking at here is, well, restructuring. If you've watched videos from past years, you know how the garden was going downhill. I believe it was the soil. But there are several things that I think could also be, well, the soil I think is the big one. Just really hard to keep the soil good. And everything that grew in pots grew great, but here's another part. I can probably catch it better if I step to the side of the garden here. Here's my composter. Here we go. This tree here, there's the garden. And look at these two limbs. They both go out quite a ways over the garden, particularly that one. And it's probably more pronounced if I go back further and you get a far view of the whole deal. You can see that those two go way out over. I'd like to get those cut. The only way I can even begin to get up the high with what I've got is a step ladder leaning against, you know, the halfway up this branch and cutting one half of it off and then going back to the bottom. I don't even know if that would even work safely. Seems like a bad idea, but I so need those two limbs to be gone. I mean, I could cut them off right down here, but they're gonna come down with a smash. Maybe I'll just do that and, you know, take what happens. But that's one thing I'd like to get to happen. The other, I decided, since these pots along the beginning wall here, this part, always grew so well, that what I need to do, because I can add compost into these. You can see I'm in the process. I've added a little bit to those, you can see. Haven't mixed it in yet. These here we have, in fact, the first three planted right here, Swiss chard. 1, 2, and 3. And I will be planting some other stuff I want to plant. Here's another little thing to reconstruct is, and this might be also because of those trees. I never had these pots here before. It was growing out of the ground. It started out as one of these planters full of morning glories. They grew, and they grew sideways. The seeds dropped down because they're annuals, and they germinated each year, and it got further and further, and I've got pictures and videos of this wall of glory. And it was only one kind of morning glory. And in the past years, it's just kind of shriveled up for various reasons that I'm not really sure of. So I bought a couple of packets of morning glory seeds, and I might buy a couple more, and I'm gonna just put them in these planters like crazy here and try to get a whole bunch of them growing up here. Get it going way down, multicolored. I'm not gonna do it both sides, but that's what I wanna do there. And on Facebook, there was a fellow getting rid of pots for free. And that's why I scored a whole bunch of these. Plus these two big tubs here, you see. They were originally our recycle bins. We don't use them anymore. But I thought, gee, I could plant in them, but I could also plant on top of them. I could take 3 of them and put one at the end of the row, one in the middle, and one at the other end. Put planks like these that I have from another project that we don't use anymore. Put 2 or 3 of these across those. Put the pots on top of that. That would have the pots way up in the air. And some of these you can see are extra tall, like that one there. Pots. I got to get my drill out and drill holes in the bottom of all these first. Then I'm going to be filling them. I'll show you what I got for that, but I'm going to be filling those up and hopefully putting them on top of something. I found somebody who has these tubs, not being very nice about it, but well, the price isn't that bad. So for 10 of them, I can get 10 of them for $50, which probably isn't bad. Plus my gas and traveling expenses there and back, which is about 45 minutes each way. So, you know, an hour and a half round trip of driving. So I might go and get them and bring them back here, because the other way is cinder blocks, which at my age and my back and all, no, not something I need to be taking 20 of back here myself and moving them around and all that. It's just not a good idea. So I thought this would actually work better. Tubs, recycle tubs like this. So that's what I'm thinking. My poor neighbor is gonna have to put up with how it looks, and now I'm planning on planting mostly in pots, but I am gonna plant some things in the soil just for comparison, so that it'll kind of be the thing that, you know, shows me, well, gee, did it grow great too this year? Was it weather conditions that were doing it in these years? I don't know. So I'm thinking this final row down here, which is fairly well raised, or the final couple rows, I might use for growing things. You know, have some beans, some of the ground crops you really can't grow in buckets. So have some beans, have some sugar peas, and that sort of thing. Still planning on doing beans up the wall here. I don't know how well it'll do. I'll try to mix some compost in. Haven't ever mixed any over there, but try to get some mixed in along the fence over there, and maybe put in one or two, like I've already got one over there, containers, and see if it grows any better. Although in the past I did try to grow in containers, it didn't grow that well at all. I found it actually did better in the ground at more consistent water or so forth. Also, some plants don't like their roots warm, and so that can be a problem. There are many variables. So also, by putting these up in the air, you can see how tall something like this is. So imagine it up this high, and then a couple of boards and that, and it's way up to here. And then if it's a crop I know that woodchucks go after, throw one of these guys around the top of it. They don't get through that. It's out of their reach. It's surrounded. It'd be basically, even if the critters get through, as long as I put this kind of stuff around them, I think it's pretty likely at least the amount that those can cover will survive. I could make more of those and stick them around things that they eat. I've never seen tomatoes, cucumbers, squash eaten. I have seen other stuff eaten, like cabbage and beans, and I don't know what to do about beans, but yeah, you get the idea. Brussels sprouts, my big one. So, what was I going to show? I forget. Oh yeah, I was going to take a walk around the edge of the house, and this is where things will end. The gardening is just starting here. I mean, things growing. Last month there was nothing growing. But we have lilac, one of my favorite. It looks like the two colors here, but I don't think they are. They're in full bloom and they smell wonderful. We've had crocus, we've had daffodils so far. And better half is over there pulling stuff out. She loves to do that. I got to get my clippers out today, and we'll see if we can round off and shape the top of this along with a couple in front. And this was going to show you, I've been making multiple trips. Still got more to make, because this mulch stuff here, I use probably 10 to 12 bags of it. But all this is to fill up the pots. I'm probably going to need more. So I got a bunch more trips to make to buy more supplies to get things going, plus the trip to go get those bins. So maybe this week, I don't have a lot going on this week. Maybe I'm gonna be traveling, man, back and forth and round and round, trying to get this stuff set up, because, well, you know, the end of May is when everything's normally planted. So to try to get that done. Marble chips, this is what happens when I pull the Japanese wonder plant out of the soil and put it in the next year. Well, now it's not all nice and white anymore, so you have to throw a little bit more on there. Here's something else interesting. A lot of times these areas, like where I'll show you in a second, where I had something excavated, was it had a mixture of soil and rock. It just couldn't separate, so I just took the whole bunch and scooped it up. And after rain comes down, guess what comes up? All the stuff that was in it, all the crushed rock, and some shells that are Judy's too. So, and that happened in another place back here as well. That pretty much sums it up. Looking forward to having some real productivity this year in the garden. things are just barely beginning. Whoa, sorry, a lot of wind there, probably a lot of noise. The forsythia has not bloomed yet, so that's coming. Hosta just coming up. Reed grass, of which we had tons of it, and I brought it down to a small clump. And geez, I'm trying to think of those couple plants there. There is a little tiny, I think it was planted last year. Can't think of the name of it. I'll show you the other ones over here. Sometimes these days, now I got to this age, names go right out of my head. I don't know what this is, but it's looking like I'm gonna have to dig this whole patch up and just pitch it and start something new in here. I might save that part, but all this is a mess. So that's what I've been doing, is just mass excavating things. This is peonies, that's what it is. Just the little one over there, this one, and two other ones yet. We'll see how many of them really get into bloom. More hosta, another peony just starting up with one, looks like one bloom at the top of it. Some of our other favorites, including tickweed there. I forget the names of these here. Johnny jump ups, I love them. They don't seem to have as many this year, but I'll go looking for them and try to clump them. And one of our biggest peonies right there. So I would love to have a ton of peonies. I don't know if there's things I can do to make them grow aggressively. Maybe my spray and grow would help, and so on. But anyway, got a lot of them. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth little tiny one. I think there's another one out front. Not too much going on out there either. Just everything's starting up in the spring like it does. Look at the tree here. That's just gorgeous. And I missed it. I can't photo it now, but my apple tree was all white and gorgeous. Ton of these little Chinese lanterns. I don't know the regular name. You can see them growing everywhere. I only let a few of them survive. But they're everywhere, and they're extremely invasive. I don't know what the names of a lot of this stuff is, but I have to cut it all back to small areas so that it looks segmented. So I haven't done this part of the garden yet. Before I put the mulch in, I will kind of make it look better. And I don't know, I might take these lower limbs off of this one. This plant is not in great shape.